Morning, YouTube. So everybody kind of wonders, like, what, you see everything we do at the track and all that stuff, and then some of the stuff throughout the window. But what is the day after racing like? Well, I think we got home at 2 last night. It's like 11:30 now or something like that. I've been up for a minute, so it's not like I just woke up. But anyhow, you get over here. It's Monday. It's Memorial Day weekend, so shout out to all the folks that made this possible. But we get over here and most people are having their holiday cookouts and all that shit, and which is great. I mean, hey, you got family around and things like that, and friends, by all means. But we get over here and we got a dirty race car that's still loaded in the box that needs to be cleaned. Now we're basically a day behind, right? Because usually we do Sunday's usually wash day. So it's Monday now, which means next weekend's coming up faster. And then this week is going to be kind of a big week because we got the new motor going on the car. So it's a motor we've never had in a car. I mean, we think we planned it out as best as we could as far as lines and fittings and things like that are going to be a little bit different. But I put enough of these things in to know that you're probably going to forget something. So I just wanted to jump on here and show you the car in the box. We got a little bit of damage to fix, nothing too extensive at all. The car's actually in pretty good shape for 2 nights of racing. It's not terribly dirty, but we'll get her unloaded here and get her all washed up and start jerking the motor out. So no rest for the wicked, man. you want to play this game, it's gonna cost you a lot of money, and it's gonna cost you a shit ton of time. I think that's the thing that people probably discount the most. I mean, everybody assumes this stuff is expensive, but I mean, really the time cost, I mean, it's nonstop. I mean, in the summertime, the free time you catch, if you're not at work, you're probably mowing your grass or something like that, and that's about it. Otherwise, it's at the shop, working on the car, washing the car, fixing the car, trying to make the car better, or on the road or at a track. I mean, it's definitely a grind, and we've been doing this for a lot of years, and the grind doesn't get any easier. I think the grind actually gets harder. The better you run and the closer to the front you get, the more consistent and the faster everybody is. And it's like the steel blocks. There's not 20 cars that show up to the steel block race. I think last night we had 13 of them, right? And the difference between the supers and the steel block cars is there's about 6-7 steel block cars that are just as good as stuff as we got, if not better. The guys can drive, and so you go to an open race and there's 10-12 guys that either got as good or better stuff than you got. So it's not like we've been running 5th and 6th all year long, but it's not like anywhere we go is slouches. I mean, there's very, very rarely a race where you go and you got 1 or 2 cars to contend with. I mean, that's just not how the game works. So it's always a struggle, it's always a grind, but that's what makes doing well so rewarding. And that's what we do it for. We're competitors at the end of the day, and we want to go win, and we want other people that are capable of winning to be there and challenge us. That's what racing's about. So we get this thing unloaded, get after it. I'll quit ranting. So you see, that's how we unload these cars. I mean, you can do it one person. It helps when my crew guy shows up here. The crew chief shows up, give a little steering assistance. It's not early by any means, but like I said, get home at 2. Sometimes it takes a little bit to get rolling. This race deal is kind of like a second, third shift kind of shift thing. So you usually get rolling like about the time it's like 9,000 degrees outside in the day, and you're happy by the time it's like 11 when it's only like 8,000 degrees. So 11 p.m. But anyhow, yeah, we'll get that trailer all blown out, get everything unloaded, the toolbox and everything like that, and whatever we use to work on the car throughout the week. That makes it easier just to kind of we try to work on the cars with the tools that we have in the trailer. That way you're not 2 sets of tools and forgetting shit. And you know, we did that for a lot of years, but it seems to work out better this way. We'll get this thing up on the old stands and get half the body tore off of it. You know, this was from Oakshade Saturday, tore that lower valance. And then last night, apparently the rut did this, just a little quarter panel wrinkle. Nice thing about these kind of wrinkles is nothing's creased, and so it's pretty easy to make it look like nothing happened. And then just one little deal there from a restart. So other than that, everything's still straight and everything's still good. So all's good. We'll get after it.
Hi guys, it's Mom here, doing my weekly chore. As BJ always says, it's a family event. So about to take you outside and show you what my job gets to be for this evening. There we go, just walk out here. Bob's already got it going, started. He's just making it look good. So now the tires are finished. We could take you in here, show you in a second the finished product. But now on to the next thing, which is, as you see, lots of very dirty, muddy panels. So those all get done next. And BJ washed the car last night, the bulk of it. So once we're done here, we should be done. I'll take you inside here and show you the finished product of tires. And there's our lovely stack, all ready for the upcoming week. Yay!
So Mom showed you a little bit of her job, right? We call it her job, but I mean, honestly, it's appreciated that they help us out. You know, we all kind of help each other out. So, you know, getting tires washed up and things like that, that's a massive help. I mean, that's a good 2-3 hour job in itself most times, and washing the cars 2, 3, 4 hours, you know. So to have somebody be able to jump in and help out with that stuff, it allows myself or Brandon to pull off and do some other things. And some other things is what I want to talk a little bit about tonight. So what are we doing this week? Well, that big motor has got to go in that little motor's hole. So Brandon was over today and was able to get a lot of work done. Basically has this thing completely ready to pull out. So what does that mean? Well, you didn't get to see any of this stuff over the winter because we didn't take the motor out this winter. So what does that mean? Well, we basically got to get the carburetor off, all the dry sump oil lines disconnected, radiator out of the way, fan shroud out of the way, get the wires off and everything like that from the distributor, right? Got the oil line disconnected from the oil cooler, which feeds the motor. Got the oil pump loosened up and dropped down. It actually moves up and down on the bell housing here to tighten or loosen this belt. So we got that dropped down. Like I said, got the headers out of the way. You know, obviously that's where the headers go. You're used to seeing those on the car. And really, that's about it. I mean, there's obviously some wires and a few sending units and things like that come off. But Brandon was able to get all the oil drain, get all that stuff done today before he went to work. So we always say first and second shift. He works second shift, but works first shift on the race car. I work first shift, but work second shift on the race car. So it all kind of works out pretty well for us, actually. But yeah, so we'll get this thing jerked out tonight. Get the small motor pulled out of the car. Get the big motor hopefully lowered in the car. We gotta switch oil pumps. This motor here that's in the car uses a 4-stage dry sump system, which means there's only 3 lines pulling oil out of the motor. The big motor uses a 5-stage system, so there's actually 4 lines. There's the 3 out of the pan and another scavenge that comes out of the intake valley, so just pulls a little more vacuum and helps the ring seal a little bit better. So we'll get this stuff pulled out, hopefully get that new motor set in tonight, get the new pump put in there. That's the one that Brandon rebuilt, and just keep kind of plugging away at this thing. The goal or the hope, the intent is to be ready to go for Friday night over at Attica. It's $2,000 to win over there, but we're not going to push it. This is a fresh motor, new motor, probably one of the better pieces that we've had. So we're going to kind of take our time and make sure we do things right. If it all works out and we get this thing ready, then we'll be at Attica Friday night. But we'll show you some video of this. All right, well, here comes out lightweight. This was a former Sportsman motor, limited late model motor, steel block motor, 18 degree. I mean, flawless motor. Wouldn't you say, Dad?
Yeah, she ran better than I thought it would.
Yeah, this thing ran very, very, very well for us. Kept up with some of the bigger, you know, call them super motors around here. You know, all aluminum motors. So nothing wrong with her. We just upgrading a little bit. She'll come out of here and sit on an engine stand and wait for her next calling. I don't want to get rid of this motor. Like I said, I'm kind of partial to this motor. It's been really good to me, and it's just a great piece. So if we ever needed it for whatever reason, you know, heaven forbid, we hurt a motor, this thing will plug right back into the hole and do us good. So like I said, we'll get her jerked out of here and get her set on the engine stand and get the new one set in there.
So last night, BJ got the motor out of the hole, and we got the new dry sump pump in, and what lines we can hook up hooked up. Fuel pump switched into the back of it, so that's all good to go. I kind of almost am in a holding pattern today myself. Sometimes you need 2 people to do things, or you need to be set up to do it with 1 person. Probably could get it done myself, but you know, it is what it is. So little motor's out on the stand chilling, just kind of doing some little stuff. I had to get these water fittings in the neck for the temperature gauge, tightened up this Oberg on here that wasn't snugged up, got the this is a flywheel for these motors. We run a Burt Bren, so, and a reverse mount bell housing. So what reverse mount means is the starter, instead of mounting on the block like a standard 350, actually mounts on the back side right there, and there's a gear inside here, so the starter activates from this side. So this pushes out on this gear, it's spring loaded, pulls it out toward the motor like that, and that is what engages on that small flywheel to start the motor. And then the tranny goes inside of here. This is the snout for the tranny, and then the gears on the outside of this are what run the belt that runs our dry sump pumps. So a lot lighter, lot smaller, and a lot lighter piece, and it's pretty strong because it takes a lot of horsepower and puts it to the tranny. So today I'm just kind of doing the little things to try to speed up tonight's process of getting this motor in. Like I said, I probably could put it in myself, but I don't know if I will or not. Problem is I don't have enough time today to do what I need to do by myself and get it in, and our old engine hoist leaks a little bit, and I personally don't really like setting a motor on a pan for long periods of time, especially you know, these aluminum pans. I don't know. It's just something I'm concerned about, you know. You tweak the pan or something and the fucking cranker rods are hitting, and then it becomes a bigger issue. So why force it? You know, I could get it off there, and we scale all of our motors to see what their final weight is before they go in, something to log in for setup stuff. So I get it off there, get the flywheel put on it, get it on the scale and whatnot like that. But then I either will have to put it back, take stuff back apart to put it back on the engine stand, or let it sit on the pan until BJ and Dad get here this evening to get back to putting it in the car. So that's kind of my reasoning. I mean, if I'd have got here maybe an hour or two earlier, maybe I would have been able to get it in, but you know, so it goes. You gotta sleep, right? That's where we're at right now.
Night out here, finally got the new motor set in. Now I gotta go through the process of getting everything all hooked up. So there she is, living in her new home. Now I gotta go through, and so like this is a new dry sump pump for us. Again, this is the 5-stage versus the 4-stage, right? So like brand new pulley, I got to get this thing located where it goes front to back here, drop the pump back off the back of the transmission, and then tighten the pulley down to the shaft. A little bit of a time consuming process. Then I got to make myself a new scavenge line coming from here that goes into here. Get that made, because you got to put these lines on like kind of in a sequence, so your big line goes Wednesday night out here, finally got the new motor set in. Now I got to go through the process of getting everything all hooked up. So there she is, living in her new home. Now I got to go through, and so like this is a new dry sump pump for us. Again, this is the 5-stage versus the 4-stage, right? So like brand new pulley, I got to get this thing located where it goes front to back here, drop the pump back off the back of the transmission, and then tighten the pulley down to the shaft. A little bit of a time consuming process. Then I got to make myself a new scavenge line coming from here that goes into here. Get that made, because you got to put these lines on like kind of in a sequence, so your big line goes in sequence here. So you get your first line on, and then you put your second line on, your third line on, your fourth line, your fifth line. Because if you don't, like if you put this line on here, you can't get to this line very well to tighten it. So you want your wrench kind of up front, and so you kind of got to go in a sequence. So anyhow, make that line there. Then we'll get our 3 scavenge lines, which I have already. They should work right off the other motor. They go out of here, so they pull out of the oil pan back to the pump, kind of run through this area right here. So we'll get that stuff all hooked up and everything like that. Then we'll be able to like hook up the oil pressure line, the engine return oil line, some things like that, and that'll put Brandon in a pretty good spot for when he gets here tomorrow to be able to, you know, put the headers on, get the carburetor on, you know, just that miscellaneous stuff, obviously radiator, things like that. So hopefully we'll hear this thing run tomorrow. That's kind of the plan. That's kind of where we need to be anyway if we're gonna go run Attica Friday night. So tomorrow's Thursday. A little bit of a tight deadline, but like I said, we're not gonna rush anything. We're gonna get this thing put together right, and hopefully get her fired tomorrow, and everything runs as it's supposed to, and no leaks and nothing silly, and be in a good spot. So we'll see what happens. Talk about burning the midnight oil in racing, and it is 12:15. So I work tomorrow. Not bitching, just simply saying this is kind of what it's all about. I mean, we don't try to stay up all hours of the night, but you get rolling on a project and you don't want to stop, or you want to get to a certain point. I'm sure some of you folks do that with home improvement projects or whatever, shit, drinking beer, you know. But yeah, this is what we do with race car stuff. So good progress tonight. We got everything down in there. Got the dry sump system all plumbed up, finished up. It is basically ready for Brandon to stick headers on and all the intricate bolt-on stuff, you know, headers, carburetor, oil pressure line, water temperature sending unit, water temperature indicator light, wire, a little bit of distributor wiring, you know, starter, all that kind of bullshit. So he'll have enough to keep himself busy tomorrow. He's gonna run up to Keller's and get some parts and things like that, just some finishing touches and stuff. So show you what we got going on here. But so we got all the dry sump lines back in. We got the one new line made there. It didn't lay out quite exactly like I wanted it to. Probably could have used a like 180-degree fitting back there, which would have kicked that line up a little bit and made it flow a little bit nicer. But it's done. We got it plumbed. So this is how this works in case we haven't went over this. So you got your scavenge lines here. So these 3 lines suck oil out of the pan up into the pump. This line right here, the new line, comes out of the back of the block, which is the intake valley. The pump sucks oil and air into the pump. Then you got your big line, your big blue line right there, blue fitting. That is all the oil and or air that the pump is sucking out of the motor. It goes back to the tank, comes back from the tank, back in this big feed line right here, back in. So the pump sucks it out of the tank from the bottom, goes out of that. You can't really see it because it's a black line, but goes out of that into the oil filter, to the oil filter, back out of the oil filter, up to the oil cooler, runs through the oil cooler in one side, comes back around, comes out the other side, and plumbs back into the motor, into the block. So that's how the dry sump system works. Only difference between this one and the one that was in the car or on the car is this is a 5-stage. So you got your 5th or your 4th scavenge coming out of the motor, pulling oil and air out. Again, the benefit of that is it gets any of the oil that's in the lifter valley out, and it also pulls more vacuum. So sucks the rings out against the cylinder walls, more compression. So that is the idea from the, you know, the difference, the idea, the advantage or whatever between the 4-stage dry sump system and a 5-stage system. So never ran a 5-stage before. You can see this thing is, it's ridiculous. I mean, this pump is long as shit. Whoop. Look at that. It's almost as long as the transmission by the time you add the fuel and power steering pump at the back of it there that drives off the back. So kind of nifty. Got it done. Everything's plumbed in. Got some cleanup to do. Like I said, Brandon will get most of everything buttoned up tomorrow, and hopefully we'll be ready to spark this thing off. So good night overall in the shop, but this is what we call burning the midnight oil in the race car world. Yeehaw.